On the Fringe with Dan radio style. Hope everybody out there is having themselves a great day. So much is happening with Elon Musk and Trump and what they're doing. A lot of talk, obviously, from the media about how Trump's destroying everything. The stock market obviously gotten hammered last week, and very curious to see what happens this week. The futures are down. We'll look at it. But we'll see. I'm expecting still more concerns. Though what's funny is we've got a whole slew of countries that are lining up to remove their tariffs from our products, so we'll remove tariffs from theirs. So you see, it's funny. Trump's horrible thing is actually quite possibly saving this country. Got a great little snippet of video where a guy breaks it down beautifully on why what Trump is doing is absolutely magical. Two, kind of something that's a little strange, I guess, at least in my mind, but I think it's super cool. And we're going to talk about it. It's with my first commercial, Healthy Home. I've talked a lot about them, and we'll get to it when I get there. But there's something that's kind of opened up for you guys, and I want to talk about it. I think it's exciting. I think you guys will benefit, at least a lot of you guys will benefit, one. And then two, I think you'll actually appreciate and enjoy what we're talking about doing. And again, it kind of ties into the community that I like to try to share, right? We had the $5 community the third Saturday every month and the fourth Saturday every month. We do the $25 show where we broadcast that in the mix is what it's called. Well, something similar may be opening up. So you guys are probably going to be hearing from me soon, at least a bunch of you in my audience, and I'm going to let you know how you might be able to get yourself on that list. And I don't know, I'm not trying to oversell this, but it's funny is I just got off a call like just a little bit ago, and what it helped me understand, and just hearing other people talk about the product, wow, yeah, like I don't know, I have this weird sense of excitement about it, and I think you guys might too. So we're going to talk about that as well. Got a lot to get into. Let's fire it up. I got some video. I got all sorts of stuff. Got all sorts of stuff going on. Let's get into it. Important alert for parents. This is, I think a lot of the people in my audience, I assume, are kind of my age or older. I think, at least half, hopefully, maybe a little more. I don't really get good breakdowns of my audience anymore because YouTube is one of the best places for that. And with the whopping 2,000 people I have on YouTube, it's very hard for me to assess anything. But for those of you that do have kids that use social media, kids that are going to our communist schools, you might want to pay attention to this. It's important to know these things, important to be able to notice and find these signs in your own children or your grandchildren, possibly, if it is applicable.
Parents and educators, we here at FBI Richmond want to tell you about an alarming trend we're seeing that's affecting our children. Violent online groups are targeting minors, coercing them into committing unspeakable acts against themselves, other children, and even animals. You may have heard of these groups referred to as 764 or Gore groups. These groups hide behind the computer screen, targeting our children through social media, gaming apps, and messaging platforms. They start by building trust, then manipulate their victims into sharing personal information and explicit pictures and videos. They extort and blackmail victims into committing increasingly disturbing acts, often compelling them to victimize other minors. So what can you do? If your child suddenly becomes secretive, withdrawn, or anxious about their devices, it could be a red flag. Watch for signs like mood swings, avoiding conversations about their online life, sudden changes in appearance, or evidence of self-harm. Have open conversations with your child about their online friends and what they're sharing. Set clear boundaries for internet use and do spot checks to see what your children are actually looking at. Trust your instincts. If something doesn't feel right, it's time to act. As a parent myself, I want you to know that this goes far beyond cyberbullying and is a trend we should all be concerned about. We're here to help you protect your children. Together, we can stop exploitation before it's too late. If you believe your child has been the victim of one of these groups, the FBI wants to know about it. Call us at 1-800-CALL-FBI or online at tips.fbi.gov.
And unfortunately, like a lot of people out there, that don't think they've got anything to hide, right? They get on TikTok and give away all their personal information because they've got the app on their phone. And I'm not just talking about what you share on TikTok, but everything you do on your phone. One of the things that so many people don't realize is just the simplest questions that you might get asked by some random stranger are actually meant to figure out information about you. And the more they can piece together about you, the more they can approach you or maybe try to do malicious things or try to get you to do something stupid or whatever. Oh, send me a picture of yourself. Oh, right? Like, and so they start moving in these crazy directions. So one of the big things is when people that you don't know start asking you personal information, don't answer them ever. Oh, they're just trying to be friendly. Assume that's not the case, because almost all the time it's not. Very weird for random strangers to just hit you up online and start asking personal questions. No, they're trying to figure out more. It's called phishing. So be aware, because this is what's happening to our kids, and then they get trapped into all sorts of funny situations. And the part when they said mood swings, isn't that like normal for a preteen and teen, right? Don't they go through mood swings like, every 6 seconds? Like, oh, Bobby doesn't like Jenny, right? And their whole world just got corrupted because some friend of theirs is pissed off at another friend. I don't know. And I'll never understand children. President Trump has directed the NIH to study regret after transgender people transition. It's a study. This is something that the Biden administration would never work on because, of course, they were trying to push a certain agenda. Well, kind of much on our side. We're trying to push an agenda, I guess, too. And so, yeah, you do studies on the other side of the equation. So, again, it's cool. I know it pisses a lot of people off, and they're going to not believe the study because they don't trust the science. This was cool. Teenage boys are becoming more right-wing. Why? Because, the whole system's friggin' against them.
Have you seen the data showing the movement of teenage boys politically to the right? Have you been looking at this?
Well, where else are they going to go?
It's a good question.
I mean, I had a teenage boy. I still have one, but he's 18 now. And I watched them be pushed farther and farther right by their schools. You suck. All of your instincts are bad. These girls are amazing. Look at you. You're pathetic. Be less masculine and more attractive. You're just barking at them constantly. They're not moving right. They're moving out of your stupid way. You've given them what? Nothing. Nothing. One of my son's friends died recently by his own hand. And I don't know what kind of pressures he was put under. But I watched those kids go through this pressure cooker created by this crazy, parasitized, left-wing educational movement. Get away from our sons. Get away from our daughters. Get away from our sons and away from our daughters. It's not left or right. I don't have a Republican bone in my body. Get the crazy people who do not understand human development away from our children.
And again, I'm the same. Don't have a Republican bone in my body. Don't have a Democrat bone in my body. He obviously can't say that part. Never have, never will. I care about everybody. I even care about, actually, believe it or not, I care about evil people too. I'm not trying to be one of them, but I care about them. I care about their souls. Many, especially the ultra-religious, which is strange because supposedly in the religious circles, all you need to do is ask Christ for forgiveness and it's done. All right? We forget that conveniently whenever we want to condemn somebody to eternal hell and damnation. Again, souls make mistakes. Souls from a soul level can make mistakes. And I'm not here to judge. That's not my job. That's why I don't believe in capital punishment necessarily, right? Don't put you in jail forever, man. Don't put you in a friggin' metal room with rubber walls. Totally. I don't care. I don't. I really don't. If you're a piece of shit, I'll put you in there forever. I'm not going to take your life, though. That's not my job. No. I'll let your creator worry about that, not me. But this is kind of one of the funny things where we're so quick to judge and damn somebody, and on the other side, I feel like everybody needs healing and love. There's so many people. We're all sinners, first off, and then second off, some of us are bigger sinners than other, right? So now we're just dealing with the level of sinship that you've created. I wish more people, especially on the religious side, I wish more people could be more open to the concept of forgiveness that they talk about and preach about. But yet, we as humans seem woefully capable of doing. Yet forgiveness is not for the individual that you're forgiving. Forgiveness is for you. So you can move on past it, past the fact that other people are doing things and somehow getting away with it, which is what really is the part that messes with people. because you believe you must live a virtuous life and you see people living outside of virtue not getting in trouble, it doesn't correlate, does it? Because you believe in something that's obviously not true. And your life is showing you that. Now, it doesn't mean binary, you're totally wrong or you're totally right. No. It just means you're not totally right about that for sure, and you should tweak where you're at with it. Obviously, you're being presented with facts from universe, source, God, world, life, whatever. There's a reason for that. Enhance our definitions as we move forward, and we'll be surprised at what we'll start to figure out. Now, again, this is more if you're questing truth, and not everybody's doing that. So many people think they've got the answers figured out. So many people think they've got it nailed down, and there's no reason to change. I'll say one thing that's guaranteed in life is change. I guarantee change is going to constantly and continuously happen throughout life. That's a given. North Carolina Court of Appeals gives over 60,000 challenged voters 15 days to prove eligibility. This is awesome. Now, I'm sure there's going to be some lawsuit or something because they're going to say that these people specifically are, I don't know, in wheelchairs or something like, right? They're passed out. They're not even conscious. I don't know, whatever weird stuff they're going to make up, which would be interesting if somebody's literally not conscious, right? They're like in a coma. And they're like, well, how did they vote then? Well, I voted for them. That's illegal, right? Because they didn't cast the vote. Well, this is what they would have done had they been conscious. I don't know. We'll see. 60,000 challenged voters, 15 days to prove ineligibility. They actually think this is going to change the vote. Now, it's funny is this is North Carolina. We all know the Wisconsin ones. There's big questions around that. But this had to do with their Supreme Court as well. And it looks like this probably is going to change direction. So it's being challenged by the Republican. We'll see what happens, where it gets us, how it gets us there, I should say. Colorado House Bill 251312, legal protections for transgender individuals. Apparently, at this point in time, if I remember correctly, because reading this is not going to work, this has to do with if you've got a child that wants to be transgender or is transgender or whatever, decided they wake up one day and they've got specific pronouns that they believe in, that if the parent doesn't use those pronouns, then they can have their child removed from their custody as child abuse. Now, what's really interesting about that is if Johnny was born Johnny and now all of a sudden wants to be Jonah, and I don't want to call Johnny Jonah, or I don't want to necessarily acknowledge that something's going on, and maybe I even go so far as to get a shrink, though I'd be really careful because some of the psychiatrists in Colorado, just be careful if they want to put your kid in hypnosis. That's just one thing I'm going to be I would say. And then two, when they put them on drugs, that's another concern. Again, I'm not a doctor. Hypnosis, though, be very careful. Be very careful. In fact, if they'll let you, which I doubt they will, I would want to be there. And they might say, no, we'll give you a recording of the session. Recordings are easy to edit. Very easy to edit. You want to be in there. Because if they're putting any programming into your child, you want to know. So this is kind of messed up on all levels. Colorado, I don't know what the shit's going on. Colorado, Washington State, Oregon, man, it will get maybe, I guess, Minnesota, but I think there's a lot of people in Minnesota that aren't this crazy. I don't know about the other three states, frankly. I fear for people in Colorado. It's crazy. All right, so this is, one, I love this product. We talk a lot about it. We're going to continue to talk a lot about it. Healthy Home. You want to go to danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. Now, Stem Active is just incredibly powerful product. It increases your stem cells, it increases your healing. I'm talking to more and more people every day that are telling me the exact same thing. It's like, oh my God, this product is working. And it's like, it is oddly good. My shoulder, I had a dislocated shoulder. It had been hurting me when I was working out. It's been for a while. I started taking Stem Active. I literally within about 3 weeks. Maybe 2. I don't know. I don't remember exactly when the light switched. But the pain subsided. And it actually went from, like, I can still feel it to no pain in a reasonably short period of time. And now I'm weeks and weeks into it. And I'm not feeling pain at all. It has literally helped. And from what a lot of the studies show, and this is one of the cool things I learned today, is I could take up to about a couple of years before you're completely healed. Not that you You can stop whenever you feel like you want. But this is one of those products that no matter where there's injuries in your body, stem cells are there to help. That's what they do. They're androgynous cells. They don't know who or what they are until they are called for. The heart's like, I need some heart cells, and the stem cells go running down there, and boom, now they're heart cells. They got lots of love, right? Or lungs, or muscles, or joints, your arthritis, got problems in your joints. This is a product that has and does show brilliant results. It's one of those things where you're going to know within a few weeks. You're like, holy crap, I don't notice the pain in the morning. Or I don't know, it's like, it'll be certain things. And you'll be like, it's not there anymore. And frequently on my manifesting stuff, I talk about how you would want to focus on health. And for a lot of people, that's hard. You imagine that you're living a healthy life. How do you do that? Well, healthy people do healthy things. They don't feel pain, so they're not trying to avoid pain. That's not how they think, right? That's not manifesting health. Manifesting health is doing healthy things, going to the gym, STEM active, eating healthy, right? These products. So danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. Now here's where it gets cool. A lot of products, great products. Supposedly there's a couple dudes on Balance that said they're now getting the best sleep of their life. I actually made the comment, and I thought it was funny as hell, and I don't know if it's true. I'm like, but maybe that dude's married, and he gave this to his wife, and now she's sleeping good through the night. So now he's getting the best night of sleep he's ever had. And she laughed because it might have been true. But again, collagen, peptides best, AO12, antioxidants, get them out, prime, extra energy. I was like, before I started this, because I didn't go to the gym today, I was going to, but I had this appointment I forgot about. Was on the treadmill when they texted me and they're like, hey, why are you late? It's like, So yeah, didn't get my workout today. But yes, this product, nitric oxide activator, is incredible, and then STEM active for your pets. Now here's the thing. danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. What's cool is the join thing. Now we've talked about this for some of you guys. Here's the thing. If you know, and this is what they explained to me, and they kind of explained the way the commission structure works. It's a very weird commission structure, so it was kind of cool that they did. But what's super cool, and this is the thing that gets a lot of people excited, typically out there, and the joining, I don't know, you got to buy a packet. There's a few different packets you can choose from, and I think the cheapest one's not that crazy. The best one I highly recommend because you try a bunch of their products. Whatever works for you, though, it's awesome. But the join, if you can get 5 people to order a month, or I think even 6 weeks for that matter, but a month. 5 people, friends of yours, you get them to join under you. You get 5 of them to order just STEM Active. 5 people that order STEM Active a month, and you get $150 basically. And what that turns into is you get your STEM Active for free. You get 5 people to buy STEM Active under you, you get your STEM Active free. And I've had one person actually said, was this stuff made of gold? It's like, well, you'll believe that when you take it because it increases the stem cells in your body. It doesn't have stem cells in it. It makes stem cells in your body happen 20 to 40% more just than normal. So it enhances your healing rate and your healing ability, plus the other incredible products. So if you join and get 5 people, you actually get free product. If you join, another thing they were saying, which I didn't realize, you get free shipping, by the way. So you kind of spend a little money, and I think there's a $9.99 fee a month or whatever for the website or whatever, but that gives you your landing page. So you're paying for your own landing page, whether you use it or not, maybe, I don't know. But free shipping, that's like at least 1 shipment a month, just the $9.99 or whatever it is. Plus, if you get 5 people, you're getting that free product. And if you get more than that, it's, well, you can see where it goes. Works out, you can actually start making money. So it is an interesting and powerful product. Now, here's the other thing that's a little weird. I get emails when you guys join and stuff like that. I get an email. So I'm going to start running reports, and I'm thinking twice a month, and then maybe once for the customers. So there's customers and there's members. The members, and I've got a friend that's going to come with me on the company. She's kind of up the food chain from me, if you will, and she's going to join. But I'm going to have Zoom calls. So you guys that get involved in this healthy home product, you guys are probably going to get an email from me. I would tell you what that email is, but I don't necessarily want to announce it to everybody. But you're going to get an email from me, and I'm just going to let you know we're going to have these Zoom calls twice a month. They may not be a good time for you ever, so I apologize for that. It is what it is. I got to try to fit it into my life too. But if you need specific help, let me know once I send the email, and you can't make the time, but I would really like to talk to somebody. This lady, Lori, said she is more than happy to help, and maybe depending, I might be able to deal with it too, but we've got the ability to answer your questions. And there's a lot of questions that people tend to have about this. But again, it's a kind of cool in that own regard. Like, we're literally, you just get 5 people and now you don't pay for the product at all. And I know we all know 5 people that love this stuff, right? So if you join, which I use Dan Radio Style, I think it does it for you when you do it from here. But if you join, that's it. You buy the little packet thing, whatever it is, and bada boom, bada bing, you're going to get your link that you can share with people. Be like, hey, go to this place and order the STEM Active. It's awesome. That's all they got to do. You can even create 3D barcodes if you want, put them on business cards. I mean, there's a lot you can do. And there's some people making some decent money selling this product. It's just one of those things when you believe in something, it sells itself, really. All said, if not, go to shop, check out the different products that you can get. We've got the STEM Active, like I said. We've got the AO12. We've got the nitric oxide booster. We've got the STEM Active gel. We've got STEM Active for the pets. We've got Balance, which helps with the whole emotional thing as we go through aging, and maybe possibly men too, but I'm thinking I was maybe on. And again, there's some quick shop where you can get some stuff together, right? There's a lot of really great products. You can get 5 of them, get a little bit of a discount. A lot of stuff. If you know people, you just have them give you cash. I mean, that's one thing you can do. If you want, buy 10 of these things, and then you'll like, yeah, just give me $180 a month or whatever, or $160 or whatever, whatever you want to do. But for in this case, if you buy 10 of them, right, it's about $113 each, right? So you still charge $150, and now all of a sudden you're making $20, $30, right? So again, there's a lot of fun ways to look into helping others help themselves, and getting a small little slice of the pie too for your efforts, which is really what it's for. danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. That's danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. Email will be coming probably this coming week is the plan. I don't know, next week will probably be the first week I do a meeting. So we'll see. We're going to try to get this. I'm going to try to get this figured out and get it scheduled up and get some emails sent out and see how this goes. So that said, it's an option to try to better your bigger picture. We'll see how that plays out. But yes, danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. That's danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. World's only libertarian president, Javier Milei, keeps cool on the Trump tariffs. He kind of like, all right, it's all good. I'm sure he's working with Trump maybe to shut his down, but he didn't make a bunch of noise. He didn't get pissed off at Trump. Milei's doing good stuff. Now, Donald Trump, truth this out, China has been hit much harder than the USA, not even close. They and many other nations have treated us unsustainably badly. Weird word choices. We have been the dumb and helpless whipping post, but not any longer. We are bringing back jobs and businesses like never before. Already, more than $5 trillion of investment and rising fast. This is an economic revolution, and we will win. Hang tough. It won't be easy, but the end result will be historic. We will make America great again. Now, here is all of these wonderful Democrats talking about how tariffs are a good thing. Let's listen to some of these peeps.
Look, I think the president's doing the right thing. China has been taking advantage of us for two decades. They're stealing our intellectual property, which means stealing our good-paying jobs. And I, frankly, am closer on this issue, not on many, but on this issue with President Trump than I was with Presidents Bush or Obama, because they did nothing to tell China off. Now, China, of course, will respond. But if they know we're strong and we're not going to back off, they will back off. They have far more to lose than we do. They have a $300 billion trade surplus with us. So I'm looking out, number one, for jobs. You know, if General Electric moves jobs to China, they're not unhappy, but my New York workers in Schenectady are unhappy. And so you can't let the international business companies who don't give a hoot about where their factories are govern this. You have to do what's good for the American worker.
We had a tire case in which they were flooding us with cheap domestic tires or cheap Chinese tires. And we put a stop to it. And as a consequence, saved jobs throughout America. I have to say that Governor Romney criticized me for being too tough in that tire case. Said this wouldn't be good for American workers and that it would be protectionist. But I tell you, those workers don't feel that way. They feel as if they had finally an administration who was going to take this issue seriously.
How far does China have to go? How much more repression? How big a trade deficit and loss of jobs for the American worker? and how much more dangerous proliferation has to exist before members of this House of Representatives will say, I will not endorse the status quo. As I mentioned, it's about jobs, proliferation, and human rights. And there are those who say we shouldn't link human rights and trade and proliferation and trade. I disagree. But if we just want to take up this issue on the basis of economics alone, indeed, China should not receive most favored nation status.
Further, what they have said is that we need to not worry about manufacturing in America, because what we should establish is a policy of unfettered free trade. We don't need tariffs. What we need is to allow corporate America the freedom to throw American workers out on the street, people who are making 15, 20, 25 bucks an hour, health care, pensions, throw them out on the street, because somehow, Madam President, we are going to create wealth in America and good paying jobs in America as we shut down plants, we move to China, corporations there pay workers 20, 30 cents an hour, and we bring the product back into this country. And anyone who goes shopping in a mall knows how difficult it is today to find the product made in America. But that is the philosophy. And I have to say, in that regard, the champion, and he is honest on this one. Senator McCain has been criticized recently for not being the most honest candidate we have seen in terms of his ads and so forth. He has been honest on this one. He is the lead advocate of unfettered free trade. And that's an also important part of this right-wing ideology.
So again, they continue. And isn't it odd, by the way, I just have to call this out. Nancy Pelosi, in 20 years, it looks like she was like in her 30s, and now she looks like she's 98. Now, what's odd to me, Bernie Sanders, back then, he looked like he was 90. Now, he looks like he's 95. I mean, he's barely aged in almost, 15 plus years, right? Kind of weird, right? Nancy Pelosi, though, it's amazing what evil will do to your soul. Donald Trump pushed this out, and this is super important. Only the weak will fail. What he's talking about, what this has always been about, what I've been talking about too, I mean, especially with all the Gold Coast stuff, which again, I'm not advertising today. Makes no sense too. But all the talk I was really into was that the companies that are deep state, DEI, all that stuff, the companies that were involved with USAID, the companies that were involved with USIP, the companies that were getting their money in essentially ill-gotten ways, are the companies that are not going to make it. A lot of those companies are the ones that were invested in BlackRock and all these other funds, Fidelity, a lot of these funds that were out there. So only the weak will fail, weak countries that don't have good, real, solid policies, that now all of a sudden that trade has been affected between us and they're not getting that free, sweet money, that now all of a sudden they're going to have problems. Canada said that. If you get rid of that $100 billion you give us, we won't make it as a country. And Trump's like, if you can't hang with $100 billion, then you can become our 51st state instead, which is why that whole thing started. So only the weak will fail, which means this has to be an economic hardship that is going to be somewhat quick, but extensive enough to where the people that aren't prepared for it will have a hard time. Or the people, another way to put it, the people that panic will have a hard time. Stock market, for example. A lot of people, when they woke up Friday or whatever, they're very pissed. It was Perla was telling me, my girlfriend, and she basically told me, the people walked up and they're like, you look how much my 401k went down. I remember my pension, or retirement, whatever. And then she's blaming Trump. And it's, you only lose the money really if you sell. But it also depends what you were invested in. If you were invested in some of these crap companies that aren't going to make it through this, yeah, you lose your butt. But it gets absorbed, and, how bad is it overall? Depends. But the weakness will show itself, expose itself, and likely not make it. So this has to last long enough, and I guess cut deep enough to where it can accomplish failing the weak. That's kind of something to think about for all of us. What is that? How much of the week needs to fail? All of it? Most of it? 80-20? Can we play that? Who knows? Trump broke globalism. The UK Prime Minister will declare an end to globalization and admit that it has failed millions of voters as the fallout from President Trump's tariffs reverberates around the world. A Downing Street official said, Trump has done something that we don't agree with, but there's a reason why people are behind him on this. The world has changed. Globalization is over, and we are now in a new era. We've got to demonstrate that our approach, a more active labor government, a more reformed government, can provide the answers for people in every part of this country. Now, again, this is the Labour Party, which is a very liberal group in England, trying to make it sound like they can still solve today's problems. But this dude, Keir Starmer, has been pushing the global agenda his entire career. So for him to suddenly act like he's like, no, I'm your friends, I swear, is nonsense. That's all. I would just suggest you folks in England, again, don't understand your system of government, but whatever. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is going to be traveling this coming week to Panama, where he's going to participate in an annual Central American Security Conference, the Pentagon said. This is, it's being announced as a security conference, which I think is going to be interesting. This will piss off China for sure. I'm curious if China does anything, or word on the street is, too, there's a strong chance that China is having a little problem with the Communist Party, and there's been, like, the military may not necessarily be under Xi's control. If that's true, there's possibly some problems in paradise, and it would be very interesting to see if Taiwan, how that plays out, if Xi is actually a good guy or a bad guy, and then in which case the military's maybe been sort of taken more control by the good guys. I don't know. China's supposed to ultimately become, like, world friends rather than, you know, the fear that they're trying to take over everything. It's one thing to be proud of your culture. It's another thing to try to, you know, take control of everyone else, which, you know, England was like that. I guess we were kind of like that. I mean, so again, there's something to be said about all the countries that do this. But anyway, they're having the security conference. It'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. We've got, so make sure this is updated. So gold, silver, everyone's down a little bit. Still up over 3,000 on the way with gold, which is pretty cool. Silver even dropped below 30. So again, everything took a huge hit, which actually looked the other way. Actually implies that the dollar has strengthened to a significant amount. Now, interesting, like my girlfriend, she's getting some Filipino pesos. Didn't seem to exchange that exchange. So that's still what it's been basically for the past number of months. So I don't know. It's kind of weird how this is playing out, but stock market definitely finished down hard. I think I've got the futures pulled up here. Let's do a refresh and make sure nothing's changed. That's that was Friday's numbers. Let's look at futures. So they haven't really changed much, but we're still looking on a down day. Not hugely down at the get out of the gate, but yeah, it's not going to probably be a positive. We'll see. It depends, again, on how many of these countries actually do negotiate with us, and from what we understand, there's a bunch of them that are starting to try to do that. This is a very concerning thing if you're a European person. This is something they would have tried here in the United States, and maybe they still will, but I don't think they can with Trump in charge. But the EU Commission has decided that, hey, you know what? There's $10 trillion of savings in Europe. Savings, you know, Europeans that have money in a savings account in the bank. Yeah, Europe wants to grab that and invest it into like a 401k, you know. So they force your money into their market that's failing. Yeah, think about that. I'm assuming France is going to protest. I don't know if any other people will, but they're literally talking about taking your guys' 10 trillion euros, I guess it is, of bank deposits, and investing that for you, you know, because they know better than you. You're just an idiot. EU scandal now official. Von der Leyen paid for climate agitation against critics. Brussels paid millions in environmental associations, but not only for the climate. The EU financed targeted campaigns against political opponents and uncomfortable voices. After years of criticism, the Commission is now officially admitting the scandal. European Union, you guys fell for it first, really. But again, you're always socialist, so it made sense that you would. Doge designer posted this. Elon Musk has a message for anyone planning to defund Doge. Defunding Doge would have no effect, as the team is widely distributed within the government and, unlike Democrat NGO scams, needs zero taxpayer funding. Yeah, nice try. This guy does an amazing job explaining some of the corruption and rot in a beautiful way, and how Trump is actually fixing it. Hopefully I can just refresh this.
His economic plan makes complete sense. The US has 36 trillion in debt. In 2025, they will spend 6 trillion, but will only collect 4 trillion in revenue. So they need to borrow 2 trillion, and this will increase their debt to 38 trillion. Trump's economic plan is based on 3 levers. Number 1, cut expenses by 1 trillion, which is Doge, Elon Musk. He's targeting waste and fraud, like social security payments for people who are 150 years old. That is just fraud. 2, increasing revenue by 1 to 2 trillion through, number 1, tariffs. They will increase tariffs from 50 billion to 500 billion target. People will say, but other countries will retaliate. They will not be able to do it. The US is the biggest customer on earth. They consume 20 trillion every year. They are the biggest importer. They import 3 trillion every year. Plus, the current tariffs is actually not fair. Why should US cars entering Europe faces 10% tariffs, while the European cars entering the US just pay 2.5%? It's not fair. And because of the tariff changes, it now makes economic sense to build factories and businesses inside the US again. That means more jobs, means tax-paying businesses, and more foreign investment coming in. He will also increase revenue by deregulation. He will remove unnecessary regulations and rules, making it easier to do business, so business can grow faster, generate more tax revenues. He will also make this gold card, which is offering lifetime US residency for 5 million. I think at least 1 or 2 million individuals globally can afford it. So if just 10% of them, if just 100,000 people buy this card, that's 1 trillion in incremental revenue. The third lever is he will reduce taxes. If he successfully cut 1 trillion in waste and expenses and add 1 to 2 trillion in revenue, the US will have a surplus. They will have more money than they want. So he will cut taxes. For individuals, anyone gaining more than 150K, he will make them pay 0 taxes. And on corporate taxes, he will go down from the current 21% to 15%, compared to the European average of 22%. France average is 25, I think, and Germany is 30. So at 15% corporate tax, the US will become one of the most business attractive countries on earth. Bottom line, this is exactly how government should be run, efficiently. Because when you eliminate waste, the money can actually go where it is actually needed, to the elderly, to the sick, to people who cannot work. And that is the real purpose of government, to protect the weak. Very few countries have the political will to do it. It takes leaders with backbone, charisma, and clarity of vision. Do you have leaders in your country pushing for real reform, or are they talking about non-relevant side topics? And let me know if you think Trump's plan is bad. Let me know why, because I think it is just common sense.
It is common sense. And yeah, I mean, this is undoubtedly going to work. Undoubtedly. Now, it's because so much money was being siphoned off, so much that there's this overwhelming number of people and individuals and groups that are very offended by it, that are very bummed because, yeah, they're not getting money anymore, which is good. Again, and who these organizations are and how this affects the bigger picture, that's kind of what we're seeing happen. And we need to see the dust settle a little bit, and then we're going to know what's the good companies to invest in and what's all that. And then at that point, we should start growing a lot, especially as these companies start breaking ground here. And so, again, for those of you that are still in the stock market, you may not get it all back, but you probably will be good enough, I guess. I think the people that got into gold at least a year ago, you're still going to be stoked because the price of gold is still supposed to go up quite a bit. That's expected until we can finally get the dollar under control or the Fed hopefully dealt with, which I think is still supposed to happen. Vietnam has offered to remove all tariffs on U.S. imports after their tariff. Also, we found out that the Zimbabwean government, they've also decided that they want to remove all tariffs and work with President Trump. I love how it's the really, really small countries that are kind of jumping up first that are like, no, you're going to kill us. Like, the stuff we send to you guys is how we live. No, it's cool. We won't charge you extra money anymore. I don't think anyone's going to buy your shit because they can't afford it anyway. But, right, like, it's kind of cool. Bigger countries are the ones that are going to hang in, your Germanys, your Frances, whatever, but they're the ones that are also going to pay the biggest price. It's going to hurt them. Their stubbornness and their need to hold on to these deep state convictions is going to cost them. And the people of those countries are ultimately going to be the ones who, you know, in the case of France, put on their vest and get out there, their little traffic vest if they have an accident. They literally, legally, guys, in America, you got to appreciate this. Those vests that are like yellow, that fluorescent yellow with the orange stripes or whatever, they literally all get one of those, or they all own one, or you have to buy one, however it works out. And it's be kept in your car, I think, in case there's some sort of emergency where you're on the side of the road. Legally, you got to put your stupid vest on if you're going to be outside of your car on the side of the road or what, so people don't hit you. I'm telling you, this is what socialist countries do. They don't want you to think for yourself. It's like, dude, if you're on the side of the road, yeah, don't let your baby crawl on the street. It's like, yeah, do I have to tell you that? Do I need to write that down on a card? Do I have to tell you have to put a vest on your baby so the cars can see the baby walking on the road? What is going on? More than 50 countries have apparently contacted the White House to start trade talks with Trump. 50 countries. I think there's 200 and some countries or something like that. So a ways to go. That's a good start. It's a good start. Like they say, 10,000 lawyers, bottom of the ocean. It's a good start. Dan Bongino posted this. In the best interests of openness and transparency, I'll be posting regular information updates on this account. The director and I are engaging in a thorough top-to-bottom review of policies and procedures. We're ensuring we are delivering results, reforms, and accountability to people we answer to, the citizens of this great country. Recruiting is at record levels. The director and I are committed to rewarding excellence and eliminating malfeasance and mediocrity. The many good cops here have always answered the call and have doubled down on making bad guys have really bad days. It's resonating. I end most of our meetings with, go get us bad guys, and our many good cops hit the streets and get it done, because that's what they do. We are looking at everything: training, hiring, cost efficiencies, policies on sensitive cases, transparency issues, personnel changes, and more. The pace of change has been perceived as rapid by some and slow by others. The director and I will move only at a pace that gets the job done correctly and properly. Sloppiness and rush jobs are unacceptable given the gravity of what we are dealing with. If you are an abuser of children, a terrorist, a gangbanger, or someone violating our immigration laws who believes this is your criminal playground, then we are about to make your life really difficult. Watch. It's coming. Don't doubt us. Much of the work being done in select divisions of the FBI must happen in silence. The director and I are briefed on it every morning. The threats are real, but I assure you that the commitment of our agents in these spaces is real too. If you're plotting to hurt us, we will not rest until we hunt you down. I hope this keeps you up at night, because you don't see things happening in live time does not mean they aren't happening. Not even close. You will see results, and not every result will please everyone, but you will absolutely see results. God bless America and all those who defend her. Dan. I love seeing someone write Dan. Like, my whole life, I've been one of the few Dans. That's pretty cool. This is awesome about the FBI task force on the Tesla attacks and some big fish they've caught and who these big fish are tied to. Kind of a trip.
Do you guys remember when Kash Patel said the FBI was putting together a task force to track down all these domestic terrorists that are lighting Tesla dealerships on fire? Well, they got one. And it looks like our friend Paul Kim here has a pretty well-documented past, but this is what he's responsible for doing. Looks like Paul Kim is alleged to be responsible for the Vegas fires. But there's something that I noticed there in that post from Libs at TikTok where Chaya starts talking about all of the BLM bail funds that Paul Kim was advertising back in the BLM days. So these are the same people doing this stuff. One of them actually kind of jumped out at me, though. If you take a look here at the Minnesota Freedom Fund, where do we know, remember the names, where do we know that bail fund from?
Terrorists sending this out on X. If you're able to chip in now,
that's right,
the Minnesota Freedom Fund to help post bail for those protesting on the ground in Minnesota. Thanks to Harris's promotion, the group reportedly raised $35 million.
That's right. Our friend Paul Kim was advertising and promoting the exact same Minnesota Freedom Fund that Kamala Harris was promoting back in the 2020 Summer of Love from BLM that ended up with over 2,000 cops injured, $2 billion in private property damage, dozens of people killed across the country as a result of those mostly peaceful protests. These are the same people, and they're taking their guidance from the same people, from people like Kamala Harris, like Jasmine Crockett, like AOC. And they're all funded from the groups that we always know them to be funded by. Yeah, these guys, like the Disruption Project and Rise and Resist, a 501c4 nonprofit, and Indivisible Project, a 501c4 nonprofit, and Troublemakers. Legal status is for profit. That is a profitable, for-profit entity that is funding these riots. That's them. And Democratic Socialists of America, another 501c4 nonprofit. And they've all been working in concert with elected Democrat politicians. It's all the same people doing all the same things because this is all the Democrat Party has. But we got one, and we're going to get more. So please, Democrats, please keep doing this.
So what's interesting, and I mean, many things, I guess. I mean, obviously, this is a crazy story. We knew the Democrats were involved largely. We know that they really are good about protecting their own, but we also know about the Uniparty, right? So it probably will work out, unfortunately, for everybody, that a majority of the Democrat Party is going to get ensnared in this. A few of the Republicans will get ensnared in this, and that will make it look like it's at least cross party lines. It's still going to look very heavily against Democrats, but this will be damaging to their party. And I think it's, continuing, obviously. But finding out that they've been directly involved with these NGOs, getting government money, and then inspiring others to do violence. I mean, we've got cases of that. I think we've got a few that we're going to share. They had their big thing on Saturday. I don't know. It didn't seem like it was too crazy. I didn't see anything major that popped out. There was some pretty big areas, lots of people. I got some stuff from that, but I don't know. It just didn't seem like it was what they wanted it to be. Let's put it that way. 2 U.S. border inspectors in Southern California have been charged with taking thousands of dollars in bribes to allow people to enter the country through the nation's busiest port of entry without showing documents. U.S. Customs and Border Protection officers Farles Almonte and Ricardo Rodriguez were assigned to immigration inspection booth at San Ysidro Port of Entry. They were charged with investigators found phone evidence showing they had exchanged messages with human traffickers in Mexico and discovered unexplained cash deposits into their bank accounts. Uh-oh. So again, the criminal enterprise is being removed. It's easy to find a lot of this stuff too. It's the beautiful thing. Senate's passing Trump budget framework to begin processing the ending of taxes on tips, overtime, and Social Security. I think it went through the committee or whatever. Nope, that actually passed the main Senate. Cool. So they're allowed to have a framework. It unlocks the reconciliation process that allows legislation to pass the Senate with a bare majority rather than the 60-vote threshold. This is an interesting thing. I don't fully understand this whole thing, but apparently they can do a vote to unlock the reconciliation process, which is cool. To my understanding, they can only do 2 things a year, but this might be their way around that. So that being the case, they'll be able to pass this budget without the Democrats' support at all. Now, it'll be interesting to see if McConnell, Murkowski, with the chick from Maine, and obviously Rand Paul. Rand, man, I liked you so much. You better be on the right side of this, man, please. Let's get us through this. We're seeing money savings happening all over the place. Like, come on, work with us. Again, I don't agree with where we're at. I can't believe how much crap we're having to pay, but being the guy that's trying to thumb my nose at the process is a little concerning. Trump admin announces first offshore oil lease sale in the Gulf of America. Oil production has increased to 13.6 million barrels per day under Trump just shy of an all-time record, and we're not even done yet. So, again, this is starting to make money for our country. This is going to help in the big picture, especially with the economy. Not necessarily stock prices, but with that treasury and with the... So there's this whole complex thing that he got his head wrapped around. He's got the right people helping him with this. I think we're going to actually see, with some transparency, we hope, we're going to see the metrics show and demonstrate that we are, in fact, moving in the right direction. And then I think we'll see it from probably higher stock market prices, better value of the dollar, prices go down, yada, yada. Supreme Court allows Trump admin to freeze education grants over DEI concerns. Supreme Court weighed in. Nope, Trump is allowed to freeze these education grants. This is the policy of their administration, and yes, they can freeze these grants because they don't go along with things. I don't think it was this the 6-3 or was this the 5-4? There's two different cases. I don't remember which one this was. But yeah, long story short. Yeah, I think that was 6-3. Supreme Court on Friday allowed President Trump to temporarily freeze millions of dollars in grants to states for addressing teacher shortages. The administration's first win at the high court since reclaiming power in January. This was a 5-4. Justice Roberts and the 3 liberals dissented. Interesting. But Supreme Court allows Trump to freeze dozens of teachers' training grants. There's a couple victories we've got there. Amid attacks, Judge Boasberg weighs holding the Trump officials in contempt. Curious if he does. It's just a great way to get it immediately to the appellate process because this guy's out of control. What he's trying to affect our ability to export illegal aliens or deport illegal aliens. If they feel they have enough evidence and under that law they're using, there's nothing that Boasberg can do about it. So the fact that he's trying to and being so insistent on punishing Trump, essentially, they'd put Trump in jail if they could for this, but they can't because that's already been solved. And again, that kind of begs the question too. Like a lot of the Supreme Court stuff that's happened already does seem oddly strategically placed. When they said that Trump had immunity, that immunity case that they decided, I don't know, back last year, well, I don't remember exactly when it was, that has set the pace for what Trump is doing as commander-in-chief, as president. And so Boasberg is definitely outside. There's no way Boasberg wins this. No way he wins this. But he's trying to keep it alive because so long as this case doesn't close down, even though all of the dudes that he said you can't fly home are already flown home, he's still got the case active. Haven't heard anything about that Signal case yet, but I think they're ultimately going to find out. They've been using Signal for years, so it's going to be like, oh, damn. These guys are just ignorant. The U.S. is supposed to return a Maryland man mistakenly deported to El Salvador. This is the one that was a clerical error. They're saying he was still MS-13 or Tren de Agua, I think it was. And, the judge is basically saying, well, you need to prove that to me. And I think the administration's like, no, we don't. No, we don't have to prove that to you. He is Tren de Agua. We do not want to reveal our sources and methods. We know you'll leak it. So no, we're not going to tell you. Sorry. Was it that monkeys always look, apes always tell them to? Do you guys remember that one? That goes back. I haven't heard that phrase in forever. That's cool. Thanks for having that one pop up in my head. It's like my dad can beat up your dad kind of shit. That's good stuff. A Justice Department attorney who publicly expressed misgivings about the government's response to the erroneous deportation of the Maryland man to a high-security prison in El Salvador has been put on administrative leave. Erez Ruveni, he represented the Trump administration Friday at a federal court hearing where lawyers for Kilmar Abrego Garcia successfully obtained an order requiring the government to secure his return to the U.S. after he was deported last month in what immigration officials describe as a clerical error. It was just a clerical error in something about the dude, not that he was a criminal. So this is what's so funny about this particular argument they keep using. There was a clerical error, so you got to bring him back. It's like the clerical error had nothing to do with whether or not he was Tren de Agua. It had to do with, I don't know, his name or something, like something stupid. Date of birth. Original address, something that would make them go, well, it's probably not the same guy. And they're like, whatever, the dude that we sent back is definitely a criminal. We don't give a shit what you guys think. And so that's kind of where this whole thing's at. He's not coming back, I don't think. Ruveni was noticeably enthusiastic about the government's position in the case. telling U.S. District Judge Paula Zinnes that he had urged his clients to take steps. Exinis? I don't even know how you say that. His clients to take steps to bring Abrego Garcia back. The lawyer said he'd been rebuffed in his attempts to get more information to offer the court about why they deemed him to be a member of MS-13. So it was MS-13. I was right the first time, and then, damn it. So, yeah, the judge is talking to the lawyer for the Trump administration, and the Trump administration lawyer's like, yeah, I don't know, we really didn't get any information. I'm not really happy with what they did either. It kind of sucks. Yeah, I think he should be able to come home too. But, basically is what he's saying. And DOJ found out, and they're like, what? No, he's fired. Dude's gone. Toastified. Administrative leave. Do not pass go. Do not collect 200. Federal judge in Rhode Island froze the Trump administration's plan to cut more than $11 billion in public health grants to state and local health departments that Congress allocated during the pandemic. Pandemic's over. Money hasn't been spent. You didn't need it. We're pulling it back. We need money. Thank you. Health and Human Services Department said the move was on the grounds that the pandemic was over, but it cast doubt on states' abilities to contain infectious diseases. But it doesn't have anything to do. The money was for the pandemic. Pandemic's over. You don't get the money. Just because you might have used it for something else doesn't mean you can. We're going to keep fighting this. Was it 23 states on that one? I think that's what they said down here. 23 states and District of Columbia. Whatever. 16 states. Attorney generals sue Trump administration over the NIH grant terminations. Let's see. This is the District of Massachusetts arguing the cancellation of grants is unlawful and that the Attorney General seeks relief for the unreasonable and intentional delays currently plaguing the grant application process. The defendants named in the suit include, what do we got? Jay Bhattacharya, and we've got Senator Robert F. Kennedy. So we'll see what happens in this suit. Again, there's going to be a bunch of these. There's so many of these, in fact. Like I think it was Glenn Beck. I was watching something, and he's like talking about how there was like 150 of these, and I think the injunctions is like, I don't know, 20, 30 or something like ridiculous still, but yeah, it's just insane. Judge blocks Trump's takeover of Inter-American Foundation. I've never even heard of this group, but Judge Lauren Alican has ordered the administration to indefinitely reinstate Sarah Aviel, the ousted president of the Inter-American Foundation, and stop various other efforts to gut the foundation as her lawsuit proceeds. So this chick sued the government, saying, somewhere in here is her argument that this is affecting the Constitution. First off, this thing was established in 1969 by Congress as a nonprofit corporation. The IAF funds efforts to combat poverty, migration, and instability in Latin America. We're just giving money to other countries. She has no chance in hell of winning this case, but yet a judge has blocked it. It's just funny as hell. Again, how this plays out, we'll see. 5-4 Supreme Court allows Trump to freeze roughly $65 million in teaching training grants. I think I've got that twice. I think I mentioned that somewhere else, but yeah, still, it's important. Democrats propose bill to prevent Trump from relocating federal agencies outside of D.C. This, I think, is interesting on like a few ways. Well, of course, Jamie Raskin, matey. It's supposedly Mr. Pirate. He's not in the picture. What a bummer. It's like having like a brought up and not being able to show a picture of him just makes it more fun sometimes. But all the targeted of removing these organizations from D.C. Just one, they're fighting it. The Democrats specifically can't take it out of D.C. That's ridiculous. Okay, so let's see. Democrats equal deep state, right? Cabal, whatever, control. D.C. is not really a city. It's actually the corporation's piece of land. Us pulling things out of there would imply that it's no longer part of the corporation's land and thusly not their jurisdiction. And so it's funny how hard we, Trump, and others are working to remove stuff from D.C. I don't know. I think it all plays out. I think it proves it, frankly, for me, in my opinion. I love this product as well, the Pet Club stuff. Yes, stanradiostyle.petclub247.com. It's danradiostyle.petclub247.com. There is a rewards tab. That's how you would join. You can do the same thing with Pet Club if you feel like you've got a few people. It's not the same exact rules as the other place. I don't know if it's 5. I don't think so. But you would make money off anybody that you brought in and were buying from your sources, if you will, or from you. Then you would make some commission on that. So that does help no matter how you look at it. So that's always fun. But shop is really where it's at when it comes to these guys. I love them. One, this mushroom, let's give you a quick on that. Coriolus versicolor. It's a mushroom that essentially I think is antiparasitic. They don't actually sell it as such, but they've had situations where animals and people, I had Baby Trump on my channel talking about how he did this to he had a neck tumor. And he took gobs of this product, probably 5-6 times what you're supposed to take as normal. And you can't OD on it. It's just this mushroom. You could just eat it raw all day long, and it would make you healthy as hell, but it wouldn't make you sick. You know, it's not a drug. It's just a kind of like a food supplement, if you will. But this product actually seems to have anti-parasitic, anti-cancer, issues. Like, I mean, dogs that have joint problems, arthritis. I don't know. This just seems to really help with healing. They got bumps and weird stuff on their skin. They got all sorts of nasties in their mouth, whatever the case is. This product seems to help. Now, again, the worse off your pet is, if they're actually unhealthy and whatnot like that, the more of this you want to try to get into their system. If they're young and you just want to kind of keep them on this to keep them healthy throughout their life, then the supplement really for dogs, I would highly recommend the Mush Puppies. It's just a very inexpensive way to get involved. A couple different ways they do it. But, you know, it's a treat. Once a day, you give them the cookie, they get their mushroom, and life's good. You want to get a little heavier on it, maybe they're a little older. They do have special sauce for dogs and cats, and you can add some of that to their food. You can actually buy the food products. They've got all sorts of great food products for dogs and cats. They've also got the ponies for Mush Puppies for ponies. And they got a bunch of different buying ways. You can do that, $31.99 to $1,800. Obviously, you can order like cases of this crap. Very good product, so don't get me wrong. And if you're one of these people that's got horses, this is a great way to get some of that in a horse in adequate forms for a larger animal. Chill Doggies, it's just another treat for pets, for your dogs, basically. They're cold, and they've got the Coriolus versicolor. Mojo's is a liver treat. Both dogs and cats have that available to them. Again, just a way to easily get some of it into them. But yeah, if you need to get more of it into them, and you can, sometimes more calories is beneficial, or replacing calories with calories that actually have more mushroom. They've got those opportunities. For dogs specifically, they got foods. You've got your canned foods, you've got dry, you've got freeze-dried. So they've got a number of different food choices and the special sauce, canned stuff. So that's a way to kind of do the normal, but get more of it in them. Than adding stuff to their already regular diet. Also got some great toys. These antler sticks are incredible because dogs love sticks, believe it or not. And when they chew on these, it's about the teeth, grinding them down, but it's also about the fact that as they bite into the bone, it's putting that bone into their bodies, that calcium. It's super good for them. So it's a toy that's good for them. When you think about toys made in China that have, lead, all sorts of crap on them, not good at all. Cats, same thing. They've got foods, the super sauce, of course, the Mojos, like I talked about, but they've got a couple different food choices, and they got a little cat nipster thing that doesn't have chemicals. It's a rope. It's got a bell on it. Let's be honest. Cats love crap like that. It doesn't need to get all that overly complex. They love stuff that they can throw around and it makes noise, and if it's got catnip on it, they're even extra happy. So, again, they've got some really cool toys that don't have all the chemicals and just about everything you buy in the stores do. Even when you go to the Petland, Pet Club, whatever that Pet Mart, whatever the shizzle they're called, a lot of their stuff comes from China, folks. So it's got lead and all sorts of nasty stuff in there. So keep that in mind. And then horses, again, mush ponies. It's just a great way to get this product into them. And then a whole bunch of good stuff. The humans tab. Oh, a bunch of good stuff. The gummies are a really easy way to go about it. But these pills, if you're a little more interested, maybe you're fighting or going through something, you might want to up the ante. These are really easy ways to do that. You can take, twice, 3 times the amount. I think they normally say 1 pill for every 50 pounds. So keep that in mind. If you want to go above, like double the dose, then 2 pills every 50 pounds, right? So it's kind of easy to do the math, but you start to run out of pills quickly. So you've got to keep that in mind when you're buying these. But these are a great way to, as a human, enhance your overall well-being as well. So again, healthy thinking, healthy stuff. Go to danradiostyle.petclub247.com. That's danradiostyle.petclub247.com. Make that healthy choice to keep yourself alive even longer. That's the important part. We got the NSA leadership shakeup. Well, we've got Lieutenant General William Hartman, who also leads the U.S. Cyber Command, is going to serve as the acting director, while Sheila Thomas will take over as deputy director following the dismissal of Lieutenant General Timothy Ha and civilian deputy Wendy Noble. They got dumped. Not sure why. We can only assume they were holdovers from the previous administration, so I'm sure it has a lot to do with that. They have now been officially replaced within a very short period of time, for that matter. Here's Barack Obama talking to a crowd Thursday night about how, well, I don't know. You tell me what you think he's inciting. Did I use that word, incite? That's weird.
And not have to pay a price for it. And now we're at one of those moments where, you know what, it's not enough just to say you're for something. You may actually have to do something and possibly sacrifice a little bit.
Huh. All right. I don't know. Maybe you read that differently than I do. That's where I was at with it. Do I want to play this? I don't. Do I? Soros-funded Indivisible is openly admitting they are behind the 1,300 paid protesters happening today in all 50 states. This was yesterday, by the way. Democrat billionaires are funding these uprisings, and they should be held legally accountable for the violence and the vandalism. Elon Musk says they will be. I think he's also referring some to the Tesla stuff. I'm not going to play this. It wasn't that good, and it's Rachel Madcow anyway, so who cares what MSNBC thinks. But they admit, and we're bragging basically about at the end, about how Indivisible is, in fact, involved in all this, and they are, Soros' company that's doing this. This infiltration, folks. They can hate how we're fighting it as much as they want, but we are fighting it, and we are kicking their ass. I'd say it feels good. Victor Davis Hansen, tore the mask off the Democratic Party, calling them, well, what they are.
The Democratic Party is a party of the very wealthy professionals, the billionaire class, and the subsidized poor, and it abandoned the middle class 10, 15 years ago. All the data show that it's the party of the very wealthy. And what they're doing right now is they're creating hysteria on the left so they can empower Europe, China, and Japan and send a message. If you guys will just hold out, we're creating such anger and tension here that you can win this trade war, humiliate Trump, and then we can come back to power. And we're going to restore the globalized status quo. That's what they're doing.
Except it's not really going to work out like that, unfortunately. And that's where a lot of the work we're doing, the ripple making that we're doing, actually is affecting their momentum. They're not getting it. A lot of us aren't sharing their vitriol. So we're not creating an anger problem. Now, one of the things, their side, they'll get really, really angry. But if our side doesn't care and doesn't respond with equal anger and or more, then we don't exacerbate. We don't fan the flames. We actually let it kind of die down on its own. It was never able to spread, that fire. And that, they're doing their laser weaponry, if you will, but it's not starting the fire. Now, this was big. I'll give them that. Big Boston street swarmed. Thousands of anti-Trump hands-off rally. One of 1,200 protests erupting in all 50 states nationwide. I only saw, something. Jordan Sather, I think he lives up in like Idaho or some crap, somewhere up around there. So who knows? Somewhere up in that area. He went to one. It didn't look that very big. This is very big. It's the only one I really saw. I heard stories that there was one actually reasonably close to where I live, but it was like a couple hundred people maybe. So it's some stuff here and there. Anti-people showed up whenever the pro-people showed up, so it seemed like there was kind of equal amounts, at least in the one close to my house, but we are kind of a conservative county. I don't know.
Here's a live look at Boston, Massachusetts now as we check back in on one of our top stories, anti-Trump protests taking place across the country today after a tumultuous week, to say the least, on Wall Street and the economy. We want to point out, just a few minutes ago, we did show you a protest. We said it was Boston. It was not Boston. It was an unrelated protest. But what you are looking at right now is Boston, and I'm from there. I can recognize this. This is the plaza right outside of City.
It's not Boston. It is Boston. But what you're looking at now is Boston. What? What are you saying? Dude, In 28 seconds, you managed to confuse me. But apparently this is Boston, because I can tell, looking at the stuff, that's Boston. All right, whatever. Maybe they were mistaken earlier. Laura Loomer posted this again, but she's catching my attention here a little bit lately. I don't know why. It's kind of strange. Maybe I got to be nicer. She's got exclusively confirmed, I guess, that one of the buses used today, and this is back yesterday, it was busing Muslim and radical leftist protesters into Washington, D.C. to protest President Trump, is called Summer Bus Tour, Inc. It's this kind of stuff I don't like about her, per se. She adds little ingredients that create an extra sense of animosity. When you put the word Muslim in there, it causes a lot of people, especially Christians, to be like, yeah, holy war, and like I hate all Muslims. This was a country that was built on religious freedoms, right? Like a lot of people that are Christian want to believe it was solely Christian, but it was really about having religious freedoms, being able to believe in your own creator, your own experience of that. Was it overwhelmingly Christian that created it? Yeah. It's what the most common religion is out here. And oddly, religions do tend to be somewhat geographical. You ever notice that? Most of the Muslims exist in a general area of the world. I mean, they've spread. Most of Islam's in a general area of the world. Most of, right? Hindu is in a very, Hindi is what they speak, Hindu is what they believe, but a very specific part of the world. So it is interesting how religions work. Also, it's fascinating when you really break down religions and oh man, when you go back into the old history, like that's one of the things I've also enjoyed about this Biglio guy, his books. He just talks a lot about the history of the Bible and the original text and how many variants there were and how many different groups that were actually involved in that process. Let's say, fascinating stuff, just literally fascinating. So Doge designer posted this: whatever's happening today, from the Tesla violence funded by the left to the media's dirty campaigns, Elon Musk predicted it all 3 years ago. Showed apparently a post of his back in 2022. And he talks about how in the past I voted Democrat because they were mostly the kindness party, but they have become the party of division and hate, so I can no longer support them and will vote Republican. Now watch their dirty tricks campaign against me unfold. Popcorn. Pretty much exactly what's happened with Mr. Elon Musk. So yeah, he's like, exactly. Secret Pentagon memo on China. Homeland has heritage fingerprints. Apparently, there's an internal guidance memo from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth focusing on deterring China's seizures of Taiwan and shoring up homeland defense. In some instances, the document is nearly a word-for-word facsimile. There we go. A facsimile of a report from the conservative think tank Project 2025. They're trying to tie it to this is Washington Post, of course. Of course, they're going to put that spin on it. It's not what it is, but it's got similarities, they say, whatever the case is. So this document's known as the Interim National Defense Strategic Guidance and marked secret, no foreign national, yet they seem like they're sharing it somehow. Wonder who got it, and I'm sure they'll be caught, but thanks you, WAPO, for sharing something that's technically top secret. It outlines in broad and sometimes partisan detail. Let's see, blah, blah, blah. Prioritization framework. Where's the part where it gets into it? They're basically getting out of other wars. Here it is. The Trump administration and the Biden administration characterized China as the greatest threat to the U.S. and postured the force to prepare for and deter conflict in the Pacific region. But Hegseth's guidance is extraordinary in its description of the potential invasion of Taiwan as an exclusive animating scenario that must be prioritized over all other potential dangers. So we're going to get out a lot of stuff in the Middle East. We're going to pull back stuff in Europe. And we're going to be able to concentrate more of our forces in the Pacific theater and probably likely stuff over like, for example, Diego Garcia, where we've got 5 to 6 B-2 bombers right now, plus support aircraft. And lots going on there. And supposedly those have been used, by the way, already to strike targets. And we do have a fun little video, I think it might be next, of Trump basically celebrating the absolute total destruction, vaporization of what I would say is close to 30 people. Pretty brutal, pretty gnarly. You don't really see it. Am I wrong? That's more than 30 people probably, huh? let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That's like 50 people maybe, right? But this is, well, this is gnarly. I mean, we don't see anything per se. What you notice is that they're not there anymore. You sort of can see this tree again, by the way, or whatever this is. And you will end up seeing a secondary explosion, which seems to be a bit more up the street, maybe right around here. And it creates a big-ass crater. But these people are no longer alive. Trump says these Houthis gathered for instruction on an attack. Whoops. There will be no attack by these Houthis. They will never sink our ships again. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so... Oops, I guess I can turn my camera. Well, I'll turn it on here in a second. Obviously, that hit right where all those people were, but the smoke is making it hard to see what happened. Most likely a very bad day for them. And then I think, yeah, there's the second one. And that, damn, look at that crater. Holy shizzle. The first one didn't make a crater like that, but that freaking second one, that gum is what we would say in the business. Yeah, that's crazy ass stuff. Okay, so I wanted to spend a second talking about chemtrails. First off, I'm not against chemtrails. I believe they're definitely happening to us intentionally. I recently came across somebody's information. I don't know where I found it. That was the problem. I couldn't remember where the hell I saw it. But they were talking about a couple of interesting factoids that made sense. So a lot of us consider I think a lot of us, when we think chemtrails, we think there are specific aircraft. We've seen pictures, right, of the one plane that was spraying out the fogging stuff on the runway or something that accidentally turned it on or whatever. So I think a lot of us have this assumption in our head, because most of us are binary thinking, that there are specific aircraft that are used to chemtrail. Now, the problem is when you really break that down and you think about how many places see chemtrails in a day, how they even do sometimes show up in other countries, they can't easily be a specific set of craft, because there's a lot of places they just wouldn't be allowed to fly, right? You'd see them, you'd know it, you'd figure it out. So there almost seems like there needs to be a better explanation. Now, I'm teasing it because I think there is. I'll get to it. But I think chemtrails, yes, are weather modification to a degree, and yes, are probably toxifying our land and a lot of things. I don't necessarily trust them. It could have to do with what they're doing with the, missile defense. I've heard all sorts of crazy stuff, but we know chemtrails show up all over the place. That's a really concerning fact. All over the place they show up. How does that happen? How are we flying craft over other countries? It's not likely. So, again, they're talking about getting rid of them. What she's talking about, and I love what she's talking about, and I love listening to her talk. She's wonderful. This is Kennedy's vice president candidate chick. Lovely lady. I think she's very wealthy. Beautiful lady, by the way, as you probably are aware. But she's talking about making it illegal, and there's states that have done this to geoengineer inside their state lines. But I don't, and this was kind of what the dude was talking about on the show that I was watching. I can't remember for the life of me where the hell it was. It was like saying basically they're not geoengineering specifically over states. It's way worse than that. We'll get there. Give me a second to play this for you, and then we'll get there.
It appears that the Overton window has been blown wide open on the issue of geoengineering, atmospheric weather modification. And, the term chemtrails comes fairly loaded, because there's an assumption when you use the term chemtrails that there's something harmful happening as a result. And that's why it's become the colloquial go-to term. And in fact, those who have been watching this and have dedicated their lives to tracking geoengineering, they are comfortable using the term chemtrail now, because they have identified particles, materials, inputs that are being used for geoengineering and weather modification through aerosol injection that actually are harmful to human health and our ecosystem health as well. So natural systems such as soil, water, and air are being impacted negatively. And I do know that HHS is in the process of putting together a team to investigate this. Much is unknown. Some is known. We do know that cloud seeding does exist. We do know that counties throughout the United States have active contracts with private companies to cloud seed and thus bring greater moisture to arid lands. And this is all done under the umbrella of climate change mitigation. And so what we don't know and what HHS wants to figure out is the full spectrum of these activities and whether there is a fundamental missing regulatory body looking into harmful impacts of these practices.
Media line, again, is geoengineering is real, but chemtrails are not. That defies logic. They say out of pocket, we know that there's no harmful effects, when we knew from Operation Popeye in Vietnam that it was lead iodide. How do we know? We lack the information. So what is your take on the utter lack of curiosity of the corporate media and their out of turn announcement that this is fine, nothing to see here?
I think it reminds all of us of the statement around the mRNA vaccines being safe and effective. Don't look under the hood. Don't listen to these conspiratorial voices. And in fact, there is quite a bit of active censorship or media manipulation that really deters individuals from furthering their inquiries and curiosity as to what's actually at play. And, I think that playbook of really using these derogatory attacks on qualified inquiries to shut them up. I mean, that reminds us all of what it felt like during those COVID lockdowns. And so there's a lot of parallels to be drawn between the COVID-19 era and what's happening today, which is this Overton window being blown wide open on the issue of geoengineering, people coming forward with evidence that is raising concern, real red flags about the contents of what is being used for weather modification, the lack of regulatory oversight, the lack of disclosure to the public, the lack of public consent. And here we are. Here we are at what I think is the beginning of this global conversation around geoengineering and fact finding, and going up against, we don't really know what right now. Is this, I do know the Gates Foundation is involved in geoengineering. I do know Open Philanthropy is involved in geoengineering. I know that the World Economic Forum has pushed it, and several universities are pushing for it. And sure, that's fine, but we also deserve, as the people, a full disclosure process and referendum opportunity to opine.
So the problem is this isn't the way it's being portrayed to us, or the way these lifelong people understand it to be. And it's not a fault on anybody at all. I'm certainly not going to blame beautiful women for stuff. That's never a good idea, right? Was she Native American? Gorgeous. Anyway, whatever. Doesn't matter. This is not about, this is not about some level of within the government, maybe USAID was funding, that intentionally sends up aircraft that are trying to create these stripes in the sky. When you've seen them happen over your own territory and you see how many stripes in the sky, and you notice that it's not a plane that's going way out and then busting a left and then coming way back, it's just flight patterns that form perfect grids, perfect X's. So if it's not necessarily craft being sent up, because there would need to be 100 of them, minimum. There would have to be so many people read in on this. And we really haven't had any whistleblowers come out. Not really. We've had a lot of studies done. We've noticed a lot of interesting things. So maybe there's something else to this. Now, this is what always made sense to me, and we'll get there in a second. But this is an example. Florida Senate lawmaker passed SB 56, which would bar geoengineering and weather modification activities in the state. everyone's like, this is going to ban chemtrails. Is it? What if chemtrails are not happening intentionally, like a company sending a plane up or a specific government aircraft sending a plane up? What if, hypothetically, you controlled it a different way? Now, everyone talks about how the fuel that's in aircraft, that the stuff that ends up on the ground, there's barium and aluminum, two of the big chemicals you always hear about. I'm not saying it's wrong that they're finding them. I agree, in fact, that they're finding them. I agree that this is bad. I agree this is coming from chemtrails. But, and they say you should call it geoengineering instead of chemtrails. It makes you sound less crazy. Whatever the case is, if you're really trying to work with somebody hard on the left, then just don't use chemtrails, use geoengineering. And they kind of will come on board a little more with your discussion. Just a little trick of words, kind of like when I would, in the coffee shop, right? A great way to be polite towards women. You call a lady that's maybe a little older, if you call her ma'am, maybe if she's a little younger, or she's at that age where she's kind of bumming about her age, like, oh my God, I turned 30 or whatever. When you call them ma'am, it implies age. When you call them miss, it implies youth. So to older ladies, I would always call them miss, and they loved it because it implied youth. You say ma'am, and a lot of people, I would get, you're doing it out of politeness, but it's actually a word that has a different sort of meaning. So again, chemtrails versus geoengineering. Geoengineering has existed for a long time. So there is barium, there is aluminum, there's titanium, there's chromium, there's iron, there's nickel, a whole bunch of shit in jet fuel. Regular, old-fashioned jet fuel that United Airlines, American Airlines, and everybody, including the military, uses, which means every flight is doing this stuff. Now, do some seem worse than others? Why is that maybe? Let's get into a couple speculations. One, how hard would it be to change the formula that's used in jet fuel to add more of something that maybe is better at doing, killing or making us sick or whatever, right? But if more barium is, makes it more reflective, makes the clouds go broader, whatever. So then the fuel has a little more barium added to it. And who controls that? Well, that's controlled at probably one or two plants. One or two people know, and they make a small adjustment to the formula, and that's that. Because of regulations, because of what barium does, because it helps with the engine and the anti-corrosion, and that's really what a lot of these things are for, they say. True, false, don't know. I'm not going to worry about it. Factually, we know this stuff's showing up on the ground. Factually, hopefully, we understand that it's in the fuel. Now, to what proportions they say it's significantly less than it likely is, maybe. I don't know. I can't test that. But it's there. Now, what we also find out, and this is the thing that I found to be fascinating, was the gentleman that was sharing information was talking about the altitudes and the temperatures. And there's a site, and I don't remember what it was called, unfortunately. I don't care that much, but I do. But there's a website where it'll literally show you wherever you're at, what altitude you need to be at to either create contrails or contrails that last longer. Contrails that might be more geoengineering-like. And there's altitudes and temperatures differ. Now, they know this, and military is very aware of this, because military, if they're flying into a certain location, they don't want to be at an altitude where they're showing a contrail, either A, showing their way back home, or B, where they're coming from. So they'll oftentimes be above or below that altitude. But in the case of military jets, especially jets, the higher the altitude, the better, because ultimately you get way better efficiency. So you can fly reasonably fast, pretty efficiently, the higher you are. But there's certain little sweet spots where you're going to create a contrail, and I'm intentionally not using chemtrail, even though anyone that lasts longer, it's because there's chemicals in it. That's why we say it. But are they spraying it? I don't think so. I think this is actually in the fuel. That's what I think. And that's how I think it shows up all over the world. And I think they're doing it. And so my point, I guess, long-winded it might be, is that every single state in this country could say, you can't chemtrail anymore, and it wouldn't stop. And you wouldn't be able to stop anyone from doing it. Because when a United flight's going, I mean, maybe they realize that if they don't fly at certain altitudes, and maybe that's what they start doing, you're no longer allowed to fly at those altitudes that create clouds. Maybe that's what's going to come. That would be probably a solution, because if they don't make one of these clouds, then it can't be what it is. I mean, it's still, pollution is still in the air. It's still going to come down on the ground, but it doesn't create a cloud. Again, what are they really trying to do? So I think it's a broader subject. I thought it was worth the kind of deep dive, if you will. And I still think it's fascinating in the big picture. Chevron's been ordered to pay more than $740 million to restore Louisiana's coast in a landmark trial. Is this the one from the Gulf? That major gnarly leak that happened in the Gulf way back in the day? That was brutal. I think it was Chevron that was behind that one, because it was Exxon for the Valdez thing. I think it was the other major one. Oh, Texaco took them over way back when. Anyway, whatever the case is, this, oil companies be cleared, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that was a bad leak. So they're getting stuck having to pay a bunch of this, $740 million. Yikes. Probably good, though. Hopefully that helps get Louisiana back to good. Justice Department seeks a 7-year sentence for George Santos. This was the, quote, Republican House member that cheated, did identity fraud and all sorts of stuff to try to win the election, which he did, and then tried to become our bestie afterwards, tried to be our bestest good friend. This dude's getting 7 years is what apparently is going on now. Whether he serves all that. Prosecutor said the length of requested sentence, 87 months, reflects the serious nature of Santos' unparalleled crimes. He planned and executed an assortment of fraudulent schemes and leveraged them and a fictitious life story to enrich himself and capture one of the highest offices in the government of the United States. So, yeah, he's going to jail, which is, I think, good. And he's a Republican. Biden's White House doctor will be grilled by Congress over cognitive decline, reveals lawmakers. Patient-client privilege, I mean, I assume there's a whole bunch of shit he's not going to have to answer. That looks like a girl. Is that a dude? Really? Wow, O'Connor. Very, very effeminate, sir. Yeah. Wow. That's scary. Anyway, whatever the case is, it makes Biden feel comfortable. Maybe he's got soft hands or something. I don't know. But yeah, he's probably not going to answer a bunch of questions. I don't know. We'll see. He's going to be in front of Congress and grilled about the cognitive decline. I'm curious to see what comes from it. I'm expecting pretty much nothing to come from it. I can't say that. It's privilege. So I don't have to tell you what that was up. We were just telling everybody that everything was cool. Why? Because we didn't want them to think he was retarded like he was. TikTok deal put on hold after China indicated it would reject a deal over the tariffs. So China's mad about the tariffs thing, so they're like, no way, we're doing the TikTok thing, F you. All right, so Trump, I think, extended it. I don't know if I've got the story. I think I do. Yeah, here it is. Trump extended it. Said, my administration has been working very hard on a deal to save TikTok, and we have made tremendous progress. The deal requires more work to ensure all necessary approvals are signed, which is why I am signing the executive order to keep TikTok up and running for an additional 75 days. We hope to continue working in good faith with China, who I understand are not very happy about our reciprocal tariffs necessary for fair and balanced trade between China and the USA. This proves that tariffs are the most powerful economic tool and very important to our national security. We do not want TikTok to go dark. We look forward to working with TikTok and China to close the deal. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now, again, this is one of the reasons why I kind of ignored a lot of the stories of the myriad of people that were like, oh, they want to buy TikTok. Great. Who gives a shit? Does China want to sell it? No, they don't. It's either it's going to get shut down and piss off a lot of Americans, which Trump, I think, is more or less trying to avoid, but sort of needs to deal with the fact that the CCP currently is using the algorithm and that TikTok has been weaponized against America. Period. End of story. You may not realize it if you're a big TikTok fan, but that's what's going on. A fire erupted Friday at Disneyland's Mickey and Friends parking garage. This not too far from my neck of the woods, certainly the Disneyland that I would go to. I've never, ever once parked in this particular structure. But yeah, apparently multiple cars. I don't know if they were Tesla specifically or anything. No real information. I've not seen yet anyway. I didn't go digging on it per se. But that's kind of happened. Not cool. The other story, and I forgot to mention it, or I actually accidentally closed it. It's what happened. I didn't want to go looking for it, but I wasn't even going to mention it, but I'm going to anyway. There was a fencing woman fencer. Yeah, fence off. There's like sword fighting thingy kind of. There was a dude transgender that was going to go against her, and she took a knee and got disqualified. She's kind of being celebrated for that. I don't remember her name. I'm sure it'll pop up in your feeds. You probably already heard about it. It's cool. I don't know. Fencing's one of those ones where I'm like, I don't know if being a man or a woman matters as much. I mean, if you're literally trying to stab people and fight in real life, yeah, you can, physical fitness, you'd push them away. You could do more that way. But when it comes to fencing, fencing's like a finesse thing. To me, it's like pool, right? Like pool or even golf. Golf, the length of the club matters, but like my sister's beaten plenty of dudes. She's a super good golfer, but in professional standpoint, she never would have been able to hit as far as a professional. So in some regards, yeah, there's certain sports, but like pool, I don't think there's any benefit to being a dude, right? Darts, don't think there's any benefit to being a dude. Fencing, I don't think there's any benefit to being a dude. I don't know. I'm curious what you guys think. I mean, I don't think there's any inherent benefit. I think a woman fencer could be just as good, if not better, as a dude. I don't know how being a guy would make you necessarily better. Maybe I'm wrong, or maybe it makes you faster in some way. I don't know. I know the muscle speed or whatever they call it, how quickly it synapses or whatever. Can help. I don't know. Who knows? Still think it's kind of fascinating. But anyway, yeah, that story got kicked to the curb. Apologize for that. Again, a lot happening, lots changing. We're going through this weird bump. A lot of the people on the left are going to be super, super, super mad at Trump right now because of the stock market. How far it goes, we'll see. Is this the worst of the worst? I think so. I'm pretty sure this is the thing. How bad it is, it's not going to be as bad as initially everyone's feared. I think it's going to be a little worse than some people assumed. Oh, Trump's in charge. It's not going to be bad. It'll be as bad as it needs to, is what I'm pretty sure is going to happen. And I just don't know what that needs to be. That's really up to everyone. So hopefully we, as our ripple makers, hopefully we can help keep it from being as extreme as it needs to by helping with the awakening process. I love you guys. I'm glad we're working together on this. Glad you're on my team, that's for sure. And I will be sending it out for you healthy home people, especially those of you that are actual members. Customers, it's awesome. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to send stuff out to you because there's some questions that I want to open up to you guys. But again, that might be more of a once-a-month thing. And again, this is going to be very specific around the products, right? Anybody that wants to get in there and ask, hey, Dan, what about this? Or, hey, what do you think about this thing that's going on in the news? That's not what these meetings are about. And so, this is specifically about the product and just helping make sure that you guys understand how you can order it, that you can do auto shipping and it saves you some money when you do that. There's just some stuff that is probably worth spending a little bit of time with you guys on that are doing this so you can be more successful as well. And so that is the hope. We'll be putting that out, and that's, of course, danradiostyle.healthyhome.com, danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. The join button's really where at least a couple times a month, just to make sure you're on board. And again, the meetings might not be at a good time, so, I mean, you can shoot me an email. You're going to get the email address, obviously, when I send you this stuff. But, yeah, I just want to make sure I'm trying to help you guys as much as I can. It's an incredible product. I love it. I'm going to continue to rave about it. But some of you guys might be able to really benefit from that process as well. So again, danradiostyle.healthyhome.com, and hit that join button, be a part of it, find the appropriate package. I get an email from that, and then I can also run reports to see who's all in there. So I will be sending an email probably tomorrow to anybody that joins up. And we'll try to schedule something quite possibly this coming week. I'm thinking maybe Wednesday is my plan, but we'll see. Maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, one of those 2 days. I don't have a lot of free time, but that probably would work better on Tuesday. We'll get there. And that's just, again, for those of you that are going to be a part of that. I love you guys. I love you all, especially. Just, if you can, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe. If you're not doing that already, that's one of the easiest ways you can help the channel. You don't have to join any of this stuff, but you can certainly help the channel without spending a cent. And I appreciate that tremendously. I love you guys. Where we go one, we go all. It's on the Fringe with Dan Radio Style.